Hi, I'm Kunigunde. I'm here to respond to Elder Mark Findley's sermon, A Time to Speak Up. And since I am a Seventh-day Adventist and a member of the LGBT community, who better to give a response? So, in this video, I'm going to talk about what Mark Findley didn't say, rather than what he actually did say. I will get to that in later videos. What Mark Findley didn't start off with was Luke 11. Jesus woes to the Pharisees, and then he comes to the teachers of the law. Woe to the teachers of the law, who place heavy burdens upon men and don't lift a finger to help them. My particular concern today is the LGBT community and the more or less demand that he has that we stay in the closet. That is a heavy burden, and it is unnecessary. And we don't just have to look at the New Testament to see so. Take a look at the Old Testament. In the 23rd chapter of Deuteronomy, at the very first verse, you'll find an interesting law. It says that no one who has been emasculated by cutting or crushing can enter the assembly of the Lord. Very clear, no exceptions. And yet, when we look at Isaiah in the 56th chapter, Isaiah promises that eunuchs who keep the Sabbath, they should not think of themselves as a dried up tree. In fact, God promises them an inheritance better than sons and daughters, and a memorial in his temple. And in the very next book, which is Jeremiah, another major prophet of the Old Testament, we find an interesting story. It seems that Jeremiah was not popular at the royal palace, and some of the king's advisors came to him and said, hey, we want to put Jeremiah in this muddy old cistern so he doesn't spread his treasonous thoughts around, which they then do. And in the next scene, we find a man named Ebed-Melech. Now, Ebed-Melech was a eunuch and a Cushite. So Cushite means that he was from the Upper Nile region. Maybe Uganda, maybe Ethiopia, Sudan, Kenya even, but somewhere in there. Ebed-Melech comes to the king and he asks the king for permission to undo what the king has just given permission to do. And then he assembles a team of 30 people, remembers to bring ropes, and remembers to bring rags to pad the ropes with, so that Jeremiah isn't further injured. Again, which of these groups of, who do we want to be part of the assembly of the Lord? The people who put Jeremiah in the cistern, or the one who takes him out? One Sabbath day, as Jesus and his disciples were walking through a grain field, the Pharisees observed to Jesus that his disciples were doing that which is unlawful on the Sabbath and asking for an explanation. And Jesus had a very interesting explanation for them. He said, look, haven't you heard? When David was hungry, he went and ate of the table of showbread, and that was lawful only for the priests to eat. By which Jesus communicates that there are things that are more important than law. Most of the objections to affirming and welcoming LGBTQ people into the church almost inevitably go back to the Bible says. I don't have a personal problem with it, but the Bible says, and so, I just can't do anything about that. No. David, when he was hungry, went into the temple and he ate of the table of showbread, which was only lawful for the priests. That story includes Jesus also observing that if the Pharisees had known what the prophets really said, they would not have condemned the innocent. And specifically, he quotes Hosea, I desire mercy and not sacrifice. This is the direction I hope that our church goes in the future. Next time I will actually start responding to what Mark Findley did say. And so I'm already entitling that one, Drag Queens in Hollywood. See you then. Bye.